was wrong about Penn State. I literally sat here at one point during the season and said this team was very underrated. I defended their coach when he was getting blasted by the national media and fans on social media. I even went as far to say that he was an underrated and unappreciated head coach. Turns out I was wrong. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel today about James Franklin. I don't necessarily feel that way about James Franklin or the Penn State Nittany Lions today. I think now, if Penn State has any hope of being a top program, they need to move on from James Franklin. Move on. See what I did there? I used a politer word. And not the word fired. When they play real teams, they wet the bed. I think that's been the theme for Penn State football for a very long time in the James Franklin era. Penn State is going to be in for a rude awakening next year with the additions of Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. It's going to be a tough task for this team. This team never shows up when it truly matters in big moments and come up small every time. A team that thrives on cupcake schedules and lose to good teams. And we saw that today against Ole Miss. Jackson Dart lit them up. And I think Jackson Dart negated the Penn State aggressive pass rush by getting rid of the ball quickly. He had a quick release. He got the ball out quickly. Great offensive play design and coaching by Ole Miss. And oh my goodness, James Franklin got out-coached by Lane Kiffin. Made him look like a genius. Complete domination. Huge win for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Franklin out-coached in yet another big game. Number 11, Ole Miss dominated number 10, Penn State, 38-25 on Saturday in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl to cap its first 11-win season in program history. So I give a round of applause to Lane Kiffin, who I never really cared for too much, but hey, credit where credit is due. This win was a showcase for the offensive force that Coach Lane Kiffin has built in Mississippi. And now, Penn State's James Franklin is 6-29 against top 25 teams in his career. Not a very good track record. Quarterback Jackson Dart, the USC transfer, completed 25 of his 40 passes for 379 yards and 3 touchdowns, which included 2 touchdown passes to game MVP Caden Priestcorn, however you say his name, Priestcorn in the first half. I butchered this guy's name, I'm sorry, but the dude caught 10 passes for a career high, 136 yards with the 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. The Nittany Lions, Penn State had no answer, as Dart found his wide receiver on real routes numerous times throughout the afternoon. I mean, Dart was the callous for putting the game away in the second half with a 14-yard touchdown pass to running back Krishan Judkins in the third quarter and a 2-yard plunge of his own in the fourth quarter. I mean, he just absolutely owned Penn State. And Penn State's offense struggled to get going all afternoon. I mean, they didn't show up for this game, which was a reoccurring theme all season, right? Their offense would struggle and would disappear in critical moments. Quarterback Drew Aller completed just 19 of his 39 passes for 295 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, the best play for Aller came on an ill-advised throw across his body that was tipped by an Ole Miss defender, but landed in the hands of Tyler Warren, who rumbled 75 yards downfield. But Ole Miss dominated in every phrase of the game. They completely dominated in the explosive play category through the air. Dart had 10 passing plays of 15 or more yards, while Penn State only had 10 first downs through 3 frames. I mean, that pretty much tells you what kind of day it was for Penn State football. And Penn State made some waves in the fourth quarter in garbage time as Aller had 6 explosive passing plays, but by then, it was too late. It was too little too late. You know, it was over by then. It was really no contest. But this is what Penn State does. They let their fans down. They don't play well against great teams. Teams that have 500 or better records, they fold in those moments. As opposed to playing someone who is not as good as them, you know, they pick on those guys. They push around those guys. They're able to bully those guys, you know. And I felt like all throughout this game, Lane Kiffin's squad controlled the tempo. You know, and that's today's brand of football. They controlled the tempo. You know, they controlled all 3 quarters of the game. They made it very difficult for that Penn State pass rush. The defense wasn't able to really get after Jackson Dart like they would have liked to. So I mean, it was just a rough day for the Penn State Nindy Lions. And man, I mean, what a beatdown it was. And now James Franklin is hearing it once again that he is not the guy that can coach this team when it truly matters the most.